So what is up, everybody? Joe here, budgetboss.ca. It is Tuesday, it is December the 1st, and I'm jumping on to talk about a special post of mine that I am re-releasing tomorrow. It's about starting investing. Now, the reason I'm re-releasing this post tomorrow is because I'm encountering so many people that A, have already started investing and need some help, or B, haven't started and need some big help. So I want to re-release this post, talk to people about why they should start investing, but also how to do it. And it's not as complicated as many people make it out to be. The problem with investing is that people think it's tough because of the amount of noise that's in the environment. So if you're on IG like I am every day, watching other influencers talking about investing or what they should be doing, what they do is actually bring up some concepts and some ideas that are quite difficult to understand. And the reason why they do that is because they're trying to make themselves sound smart. So what I try to do is break it down and make it as easy as possible. The average person doesn't really know what they're doing, and that's not a knock on anyone because our schools don't really teach how to invest. They don't really teach what's important. They don't teach you how to save money. They don't teach you how to do taxes. They don't really teach you anything about personal finance. So it's incumbent on you to kind of learn about these things on your own. And what you want to do is actually make sure that you put a system in place that's somewhat foolproof and something that you can do to help you move along with your investing as you grow and pick up knowledge and understand how money works a little bit more. So I'm going to jump into this post I released 2 years ago, and it's how do you start investing? So I named it How Do I Start Investing, but we're talking about you, obviously. So let's get right into it. So first off, the hardest thing about starting investing is actually starting. It's like going to the gym, keeping up a routine. It's difficult to start to do, and even more difficult to be consistent with it. Once you develop the pattern, you develop the intuition and the persistence, then it becomes much easier, and you start to see results, and then it just snowballs from there. So I go right into the first part that helps you understand that is saving money. Now, why is saving money so important? Well, you cannot invest any money if you don't have savings. So I mentioned the budget, and of course, I talk about budgets all the time. I believe everyone should have a budget. Reason being is this: you cannot save any money, or you can't invest any money if you don't save any. But you can't save any if you don't have any. And you don't have any if you don't know where it's going every month. And this is where the budget comes into play. You got to build a surplus of extra funds every month so you can save that and then take that excess and invest it. And if you're not doing that, then you are actually going to be in major trouble as time goes on, because you're just going to be wasting valuable time in terms of investment compounding as time goes on. So this is why I talk about saving money, not wasting money, and for most people, that is actually the biggest and first most important step, is building that surplus every month, and most people just don't do it, sadly. So that's why you need to save money every month. You need to build that surplus. The next part is know your vehicles. Now, what is an investment vehicle? And people talk about these all the time. My favorite is obviously the tax-free savings account. The reason why is because it's super flexible. A lot of people use their tax-free savings account as a general savings account, and I don't want people to do that. The reason being is this: if you have a short time horizon, meaning the money that you put into your tax-free savings account is money that you're going to need in the near future, let's call it 1 year or less. If that's the place that you're putting it in for that type of savings, you're better off just putting in a general savings account. The reason being is this: on any given year, the returns that you get may or may not be that great. So if you need access to these funds, what you want to do is have it easily accessible to you and not penalized to you whether you take it out. You also don't want to be at the whim of the market if it goes down during the time that you actually need the money. So you might as well keep it in a general savings account. Keep your buffer there, or if you're going to make a large purchase in the near future, just put the money in your general savings account. My pecking order goes like this: day-to-day banking with your checking account, savings is your emergency fund, tax-free savings account is your medium to long-term savings, and RRSP, your registered retirement savings plan, is your do not touch retirement savings. The reason why I think the tax-free savings account is so important is because money in the tax-free savings account can eventually transition into your RRSP later. The big issue with it is once you put in the RSP, when you take it out, you're going to pay tax. And I don't want people withdrawing money from their RSP and paying tax when they need that money. It's better off putting in the tax-free savings account until you know you're not going to touch it anymore until retirement. The thing is, I also want people to start thinking of their tax-free savings account as a retirement account. And that's why I mentioned the savings account as your day-to-day emergency fund when things come up that you need, or a short-term purchase that you're going to make. Say you're saving up for a trip, something like that. Might as well just put it in your savings account if you're going to need it in a year or less. But understand these vehicles. These vehicles are what's going to house your money. And the big difference between the two is the tax treatment. Tax-free savings account, as the name says, money in and out, tax-free. RSP gives you a tax deduction, but you also pay the tax as it comes out, and it's counted as income. So you got to be very wary of that. So I share this post in here. You can check the link out. It's tax-free savings account versus RSP, and it's from Money Sense. And if you need more clarification on the difference between the two, just check that out. Or I write many posts about this, and I've spoken about it many times. Shoot me a message or check out some of the links that I have in terms of tax-free savings account versus RSP. The next important thing is choosing the investment itself. Now, I am partial to mutual funds. The big difference that people don't really understand is that they think when they invest in a tax-free savings account, they're investing in the TFSA. No, the TFSA itself is what holds the investment. So that investment can be one of many things. Mutual funds, ETFs, index funds, stocks, bonds, just straight cash, which many people have their tax-free savings account sitting in. So I'm going to get to two quick things about this, choosing the investment. Number one, if your tax-free savings account is sitting at the bank in cash, which I see all the time. You gotta switch this. Like I said, if you need it in the near future, just put it in your savings account, which is essentially cash, and it will gain a small amount of interest, but it's accessible to you. So that's what you want. Get it out of there, invest it properly. And if you're confused about what to invest it in, shoot me a message, I can help you out. Now, also, if you think that you are not invested properly, you need to actually reach out to someone to actually show you the investments that you should be invested in. A lot of people don't understand the differences between these investments. I'm partial to mutual funds for a specific reason. Mutual funds, in my opinion, your money against market fluctuation. Now, the big issue that people have with mutual funds is that they do not like the fees associated with them. But here's the thing. Number one, the fees are negotiable. So you can actually negotiate down your fees to actually put them in line with different styles of investment, such as ETFs and index funds. Now, those are super low fee investments, but at the same time, you're also not getting any advice, and you're also not getting any help on your investments. The second part about mutual funds that people say are not good, and I'll address this as well, is the fact that they say they cannot beat the index. But that is not necessarily true. There is only about 20% of mutual funds that beat the index on a consistent basis. Now, the index is your market index, such as the Toronto Stock Exchange, Dow Jones Industrial Average, S&P 500, the Russell Index. These are indexes that track multiple companies in these specific places, such as Toronto, New York, Europe, emerging markets. Now, if you think that you can't beat the index, you're wrong. There's multiple companies that beat the index on a regular basis, including the portfolios that I deal with on a regular basis. So if you want to learn how to beat the index, you need to make sure that you're choosing companies and choosing funds that actually beat the index on a consistent basis. The problem with index funds is that they track the index completely. But the thing is with index funds as well is that they can never beat the index. They're designed not to do so. They will never beat the index because they track the index, and then the fees itself associated with the index fund, which are very low, actually drag down the performance of the index fund. Now, the problem with the index funds as well is they'll have 1,000 companies in them, such as the TSX or the S&P 500 or the Dow Jones Industrial Average has 30 companies within it, or the Russell 1000 or 2000. They have 2,000, 1,000 companies in it. Now, I deal with concentrated mutual funds that actually outperform the index because they are picking the best companies within the index. Why on earth would you track 1,000 companies, 1,500 companies that exist in the TSX when you could pick out the 20 to 40 best companies that exist in there? So that's why I use mutual funds. If you're more curious about that, let me know. There's a lot on this, but this is just the way I operate, and all my clients are quite satisfied with the portfolios I have built for them. So that's something to think about as well. So you want to choose the investment. It's got to be based on your risk tolerance. So you're not picking things above your risk tolerance, things that are way too risky for you. You need to be able to handle the ups and downs of the market, because if you pull out when it's low, you will lose. And that's another problem with index funds that people don't take into account. They say, well, just buy and hold index funds. Well, buy and hold. Here's the thing. People don't buy and hold. People buy and sell when it's low, and then they buy when it's high. It's that easy, is it? Well, there needs to be a barrier between you and actually the decisions that you will make that are harmful to you in the long run. And if you think it's not the case, how about you check the stats on whether people buy high and sell low, because it happens all the time. And let's just see how many people actually ducked out of the market in late March. None of my clients did. So I'll tell you right now, having a barrier between you and your investments is often key. Someone who's impartial and will help you make the right decisions. The next key factor is automate. Now, here's the next factor for most people. Most people will save what's left over at the end of the month. You need to automate and put money in before you spend it. And a lot of people I know, they will just spend it unless it goes away. Payday, money needs to go into your investment account before you spend it. This is huge. Now, people just don't have the discipline, and it's not a knock on them. It's just when they see there's money in their account, they'll spend it on things that they need, they want, things that they'd like to do. So if you have money going out of your account right on payday into your investment account, your tax-free savings account, or your RSP, then you won't spend it before you have a chance to invest it. This is what's called paying yourself first. Your bills come out, your savings come out, the rest is left for you, and then you will automate this, and then what will happen at that time, your investments will grow automatically without you tampering with them. Now, another cool aspect of that is what's called dollar cost averaging. So dollar cost averaging means that you're buying stocks or funds on a regular basis, no matter what price they're at. So if the price is high, you're buying them, but if the price is low, you're still buying them. Now, if the price is low, you're buying more units of that particular fund. The good thing about it is that when the stock actually climbs to where it was, you have more units. Therefore, even when the market is down, you are still growing. You're growing your number of units as opposed to your stock value. And then when the stock value and the fund value grows to back where it was, you actually have more units and therefore have made more money. This is the whole buy low, sell high concept. Clients that I had that got in the depths of COVID market crash, late March, early April, are up huge on the year because they got in at that time. The ones that dollar cost averaged into it, or in other words, bought consistently throughout the year, are also up huge. The only ones that are not are the ones that actually left. Now, none of my clients did that, but at the same time, you need to make sure that if you cannot save lump sums on regular basis, you can actually just inch your way into the market by dollar cost averaging. And this is huge. And this is how the majority of people will gain wealth even when markets are low. So think about that. Think about automating your savings as opposed to trying to put in money in lump sums throughout the year. That's difficult for most people. You set it and forget it. And this is huge. Stop touching your investments. I have clients that pull money out on a regular basis, and this is mainly because they can't handle their monthly budgets. Try to get them on track, but it's difficult for them. So if you can master the monthly budget, then you can leave your savings alone. The big issue with it is you want to let your savings stay where they are, as long as the funds are good, of course, and then they can grow over time. If you constantly are pulling out, touching them, then the issue with it will be that you're actually pulling out at inopportune times, or you're missing other occasions where the market is growing. So for instance, if you pulled out right before the election, before you needed money a month ago, you would have missed out on all this market growth, which basically the month of November was the best month in decades for the market. So you would have missed all that. Now, it doesn't mean that you're an idiot or anything. All it means is that you missed that opportunity because you needed the money. You need to make sure your monthly budget's on track so you're not pulling from your investments to use for day-to-day things or emergencies. And that's another reason why I recommend the layered approach: checking account, savings account, tax-free savings account, RSP. You have multiple buckets to take money from before you go to your investments. And each of these accounts is fully stocked as much as possible as you can. And it's like Dave Ramsey says, you get that emergency fund. Step one, you build the emergency fund. Then you build the emergency fund up to a certain point after you have paid off all your debts. So that's baby step 3, where you're building your emergency fund at 3 to 6 months, and that you pay off all your debts so you're not going to get into debt again. And then you're investing 15% of your income towards the future, where it can grow and compound over time. So you set it, you forget it, you don't touch it, you leave it alone, you let it grow, okay? Now here's another huge aspect. Does your company offer a matching program? Now here's the X factor. Some people work for companies that will give you a match towards your retirement account. So for instance, if you put 5% of your paycheck towards it, they will match that 5%. Now, what is 5 plus 5? Obviously 10%. That means 10% of what you make every year is going towards your retirement, but you're only paying 5 of it. So you got to take advantage of these matching programs. And in fact, if you're looking for job opportunities, if they offer a matching program, I would recommend taking a job with a matching program over a different job without a matching program. You got to weigh the options on that, because that matching program itself can springboard your retirement, whereas the job without one, and you're doing it yourself, you might not have that juicy retirement account when you're ready to dip out. So obviously in your job search, benefits, retirement matching, and a good work environment, of course, is what you want to look for. So if you're already at a job with a matching program, you got to take advantage of it up to the match, of course. And after that, you can save on your own and build wealth on your own. Key things to remember. We don't need goals to invest. So one thing that people always say to me is, well, I don't know what I'm saving for. You don't need to know what you're saving for. You just need to save. Things are going to come up in your life that you're going to need money for, including things that you don't necessarily need it for right now, i.e. retirement. So you don't need goals for saving. You just need to save money and invest it. If you do that, the sky's the limit. And then things over time will develop where you can actually put your money towards your goals, such as buying income properties, making your retirement account as juicy as possible, and then eventually potentially leaving a legacy to other people. It's okay to not have defined goals. I didn't have defined goals up until a couple of years ago, but I did know it was important to save, and that's something that actually carried me through. One of the things that I want people to understand is that as you get growing with your accounts, you'll start to see the compounding effects. Now, this doesn't really happen in the first few years. You're going to see most of the contributions and most of the growth itself will be from the money that you put in. So you want to just keep at it and have yourself in some good funds that will grow over time. But if you're only putting in $100 a week, or $100 every couple weeks, or $50 a week, you're not going to see massive growth, but it will start to have an effect after several years. So make sure that you stay consistent, stay persistent, stay at it. And if you actually keep on that, you can get some massive gains once you hit the 2, 3, 4, 5 year mark. It just won't happen overnight. You need to make sure that you keep at it. On how to begin investing, and I want people to get at it starting for 2021. If you can do something this month of December, get your budget in order, get saving some money, get your debt under control, or make a plan to get debt free so you can actually start saving some money and put some money away into an investment account. The big thing about it, it won't start unless you start. So if there's one thing you can do in December to make your 2021 better than your 2020, which 2020 obviously was a dumpster fire of a year, but 2021 could be something great for you if you take this 1 month to get a little organized, get the budget under control, get things rolling for you. So what I'm going to include in this post, you can check the link. You could see the link to my post here, but I'm also going to include the link to my combo budget express sheet, where you can actually get your money together and you can organize your monthly budget so you can create that surplus every month that you can save and invest. I want you to check me out on the social medias, obviously at Joe Budget Boss. Facebook right now, we're approaching 20,000 likes, which is an amazing thing. I'm also on IG and I'm on Twitter. You can check me out on Quora. Questions, shoot me an email at joe@budgetboss.ca, or if you budgetboss.ca/contact, budgetboss.ca/contact, and you can book a meeting with me and we can actually review your investment accounts, and you can get investing for the future in some funds that are actually going to make some money instead of them sitting in cash at the bank not doing anything. So thanks for tuning in, thanks for listening to me, guys. Have yourself a great night. Peace.